can share it. I think we're good. Yep, I've got the link. Yep, cool. Yeah. Okay, cool. Oh, you're or Jenko? Okay, cool. Yeah. Okay, all right, thanks. See you later. Bye.
So it's got tasting books and stuff at the back of those. So even if I just bring the books in for you girls, so there's a clock thing that goes with it. We've got to bring, those big white boards, so there's new overlays that go with that. Yeah. So. Yeah. I thought this one. Right. Just as long as they're not. Just would have been quite heavy to stay home and babysit. And see me love it.
Relay it anyway.
I know. See, I've been emailing the dean.
It's not coming out 4K, I can tell you that.
Is that sitting on?
I mean, look at that, it's clear there. But then it could be my picture, because it's clear there. No, it's not sitting there. So that's what.
You haven't seen it that yet?
They hope we will care and help you to see things that it's not. I think that's what we read today. Yeah, apart from the dance in the first half of the year. But he's got Francis for like 3 periods on one of the days in the season. He's like so excited he got trigonometry, eh?
He's the sweetest teacher in the whole year.
Eh?
He's the sweetest.
Yeah, like on a Thursday, I think he's got Francis for period 1, and then he's got that double period Francis.
Wonderful.
Yeah. So, yeah, but he was so excited. He's telling everyone he's got trigonometry and Pythagoras' theorem, and everyone's like, "What's he talking about?" No one understands what that is, but that's his favourite subject in maths, geometry and stuff. So, yeah, he's stoked. Yeah. It was just, was worried that it wasn't, but yeah, it'll balance out. I think some of his other stuff has a bit of maths in it anyway, so he's still going to do maths in the first half of the year. I think that robot invasion, I think, he needs maths for that anyway. So,
Excuse me, can I ask you
so yeah, I think he sounds quite happy.
they need to be here tomorrow morning?
Yeah.
I can't tell you nothing about the timetable. I think it's
You've got everything in your deck anyway. I've got a couple of third options, but I guess with some of the ones we missed out on were in 9 so maybe he might be able to put that easier. Because he wanted to be a millionaire and that everyday maths, and he missed out on both of those. So maybe next year he's going to next year he'll have a different train. Yeah.
Who else wanted to link? John.
No.
Yeah, if you want to see the slideshow afterwards, maybe. I'll share it with you later.
Actually, yeah. Send the link and I can post it.
Yeah.
Yeah, actually, if you send,
Do you want me? I can put the
We start down in 4 on 4 off.
send it to
Oh, do you? Got the whole team on half.
That's the way.
So, yeah,
live stuff. I actually stream.
dot stream.
I actually got stream. Okay.
4 days on and Fridays. So, yeah. Hey, so I have 2 days in a row after a sleep. It's cold, so yeah. Justin said he's excited about it.
But hey, if you feel like you're school, I think I'm going to,
Yeah, no, because he sleeps on Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday, all the way at home.
Nice.
You've been on holiday.
Yeah, I think
So I'm doing Friday and Monday this week.
Yeah.
And Paddy doesn't change. He's not changing his heart.
Wonderful. Share. No,
I made it more so
good. Understand. Restricted. Okay. View. Good. Oh, no. Anyone with a link can view. That's important. We don't want them something copying as well. Yeah. Okay. Copy. Done. And then.
Keep going.
Boom. Well, they can't confirm they didn't see it.
Thank you.
I thought we stayed home Wednesday night. But starting if we make a pair of I'll find something. Don't you worry. Oh, he got 3 books for Christmas, and I think he's already on to the second one. No, I think we're surprised with this. This would be that flying. I was expecting to try and find sort of a 10, 12 short. We ended up flying 16, but by the time we had enough with a bit of room, that would make those 5 things of use. Yeah. Can't work out how to do the 2 buttons. For the life of And I came down to school yesterday and got a camera. So we've got everything. I've got a stationery. I've just got to work out how to set his Chromebook up because the school account this huge information that how he logs with his Chromebook. So he's got his school, his new high school, and I've got password to set up his. Yeah, I don't know how he can log into his Chromebook without setting up another email account or something. But we'll work it out.
No mai haere mai ki te kura tuaro kohanga moa. So welcome very much to Inglewood High School in what is a very strange world. At the end of the year, we thought we had a great plan for the Orange, and then as of Sunday night, we've had to make lots of adjustments to all sorts of things. So thank you very much for coming tonight, because we think it's really important to keep life, particularly for your teenagers, as normal as we possibly can. And so it's really good to have this and give you an opportunity to find out a little bit more about how school's going to roll next week. And we hope that it's a really informative time for you. We haven't asked all of the key people to come tonight, but there are some really critical key faces that we want to introduce you to over the course of the evening. So this is a new stage in your child's learning journey. And if you think back to when you were 13 and about to start high school, the world that we lived in then is a very different one from the ones that your young people live in now. And it's good to remember that. There is, in some senses, a generation gap, and in others, there's none whatsoever. But the world that your young person lives in is a world where they think that you know nothing and Uncle Google knows everything. And you've probably already come across that. Another factor in life is that their cell phone becomes an absolutely monolithic presence in your house. And that's something you don't have to take as it is. You can put some boundaries around that if you wish to, and it's probably a really good idea. Another part of this learning stage that you're in is that once upon a time you had a young person who wanted to hold your hand when they walked down the street, and they wanted you to go to the playground with them, and they wanted you to take them to the movies. Now they don't want to have anything to do with you. Don't be fooled by that either, because they still love you, they still need you, and even though they would never admit it, they actually do want you. So look past that one as well. One of the biggest things that we see at this end, and you will come to know it as time goes by, is that truth with a capital T, like what might have happened, is akin to a piece of string. And one never knows how long a piece of string is. And sometimes your young person is going to tell you this much of the truth. And what they tell you will be the truth. But the whole story might be this much. So you have to get quite strategic and clever at asking questions and doing a little bit of digging, and don't always take their word for it. Because when they were 5 and they did tell you everything that they did, whether it was good or bad, they're not going to do that when they're 13 or 14 or 15 or 16 because they're scared of consequences. And it's good that they are. But you do need to make sure that you don't just, oh yeah, they always tell me the truth. If you've got a child that has never told a lie, I'd like to know what hospital they were born in, because I would instruct every future Inglewood High School child to be born in that hospital. Because if you think about what you were like when you were their age, that's just a good steer for how you're going to manage your teenager. I want to be quite bold and say to you, remember that in the parenting journey, you are the adult. You aren't actually designed as a parent to be your teenager's best friend. And so often we have parents in our offices, the DPs and myself, and we hear mums say, oh, but so-and-so is my best friend and they tell me everything. And I have to refrain from rolling my eyes, but inwardly I am. Because actually teenagers don't tell their parents everything. So remember that you are the adult and it's your job to have some boundaries and hold firm to them, even though that doesn't always mean for an easy ride. Being a teenager, you'll remember this, is like that. Some days are good and some days are plain rotten. And some days you really like your parents and other days you just want to ignore them and pretend that they don't exist. So it's no different for them as it was for you, but often we want the easy way out. So don't take it, is my advice, because while it might be tough while you're doing that, you end up in the end with a really good, strong relationship with your young person. And in the end, that's what you want. And they do come out the other side of being a teenager, because look at all of us. We've done that and we've survived the journey. One of the things that I talk to the students about a lot, and I want to say it to you because it's something that we often forget, and that is there is this thing called the 2 seconds of madness. And kids, teenagers, can often think in the heat of the moment that the decision they're making is absolutely the right one. It's a really good one. So often it's been in the past, but less so now, getting into a car with somebody that they maybe don't know, or they don't know how much they've drunk. And they close the door and the car starts. That could be their 2 seconds of madness. Sometimes young people make really silly decisions. And part of the whole journey of becoming an adult is learning how to make good decisions. And I often talk to the students about that 2 seconds of madness, because we've all done it. And one of the ways you can tell if you're a grown-up or not is that those seconds of madness tend to get fewer and further between. And so please remind them gently sometimes that it's not about being judgmental, it's about helping them make good decisions. And if they have stuffed up and done something that qualifies as the 2 seconds of madness, then what you need to do is gently talk them through, okay, what would you do differently next time? How could we manage this better? What can you learn from that? But the 2 seconds of madness is kind of always on the back of their shoulders for the next 4 or 5 years. Remember that. And the less it happens, the better it is. I would like to say, finally, that as a school, we want to partner with you as a parent. In a way, having a teenager, if they're at the top of, it's like a triangle, and school and home are at the bottom. And if we are working in tandem, us and you as parents, then your child's life is going to be stable, and they have more of a chance of enjoying school and getting the most out of their learning. Sometimes we don't always get it right as a school with our young people. That's not to say we haven't tried, but we don't always get it right. And sometimes you'll be able to think of examples where you could kick yourself and think, oh, I wish I hadn't said that, or I wish I hadn't done that. We don't always get it right as adults with teenagers, but what we want to do is work with you. And our staff, one of the things I love about the teachers at Englewood High School is twofold. They are really committed to the young people that are in front of them every day, and they really try their darndest to get it right. And when they don't, they're really good at saying, oh, I think we could have done that a little bit better. How can we improve later? So please talk to us, talk to the key people in your child's life. And one of the big differences is between secondary and primary is that I'm not the key person in your child's life. Whereas in primary school, you would often walk into the school and speak to the principal. Sadly, I'm nearly the last person that gets there. Your child has a form teacher, your child has a dean, and your child has also our deputy principals and our assistant principal. There's lots of layers and lots of people with all sorts of strengths that you can tap into. So one of the things that's really important is to know where to go and who to go. And if you don't know, who to go and see, and if you don't know who to go and see, pick up the phone and ring the school office. And our lovely office ladies, if you explain the situation to them, they'll point you in the right direction. So we try to be available, we try to be people that are responsive and do the right thing. So please talk to us. Don't buy into this thing in New Zealand culture, which is that when you have a teenager, you leave them at the school gate and let them run their lives. It doesn't have to be like that, and we welcome your being part of our school family. So one of the things that I think is really important is that you guys hear from some of the students. And so I've asked this year's head girl and head boy to come tonight. This is their first official gig as the head boy and head girl for 2022. And I want them to tell you about what life is like for them at school and what it was like for them when they were in year 9. Because I can stand here and tell you anything you like, and it could be cobblers. But I think that these guys will be, I know they're going to be really genuine and let you know from their perspective what it's like to be at Englewood High School. And then they're going to hand over to Mr. Vaughan, our deputy principal, who's going to go through all the nuts and bolts. And any questions that you have along the way, please ask. but there will be an opportunity at the end for you to ask those questions. So don't sit there thinking, oh, it's a dumb question. There's no such thing as a dumb question. This is your opportunity to find out all the things you need to know. So please do that. But Ollie and Michaela, I'm going to ask if you would come up now. So our head boy for 2022 is Oliver Darth, and we fondly call him Ollie. And our head girl is Michaela Pierce. So over to you guys. Thank you both.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome. My name is Oliver Darth, and I have received the honour of being Englewood High School's head boy in 2022. It seems like yesterday I too was in your children's shoes, about to walk through the gates of Englewood High School for the first time as an actual student. Prior to coming here, I had spent 8 years at St. Patrick's, where there was no more than 90 students on the school roll at any point in time. So when I first arrived here, it was especially daunting. I was a shy little boy and had learned how to hide amongst familiar faces. But it didn't take long for me to step outside my comfort zone and really feel comfortable amongst my new peers. Something I know now, but didn't at the time, is that nervous is normal. And what we all have to do is learn how to step outside our comfort zone. Coming to high school was one of those times, and whether you're shy or not, everyone's a little bit nervous on their first day. And look at me now. While your son or daughter may be feeling a little bit anxious about the first few days, rest assured everything is designed to make sure your child has a positive beginning to their life at secondary school. The people are also feeling too. The year 13s will be at school next week with the year 9s, helping them meet new people, find their way around, and generally get a feel for the school. There are plenty of fun events in the first month of school, which are not only fun, but also help everyone, you or not, settle into the school life. These events helped me substantially in my first year, as it gave me a chance to get a real feel for the atmosphere in my whānau and compete in a wide range of activities. Everyone's great at something, whether that's swimming or running or throwing gumboots, and the whānau events are a great opportunity for every student to really let their talent shine. So remembering that nervous is normal, just get out there and go for it. But above all, I love the little nature of the school. This is a huge benefit to a teenager. This not only helps them develop a stronger and more personal relationship with the teacher, but helps them to engage with other year levels as well. When you continually see the same faces around school, it's easy to put a face to a name and feel more comfortable talking to that person. It's hard to get lost in the crowd here, and I think that's a good thing. On top of this, it opens up opportunities for your kids. That could mean a school trip, interview camp, or a sports team. I know that if it wasn't for the size of the school, I might not have been able to represent our school in football or basketball teams, and being a part of these teams makes school so much more enjoyable and meaningful. Reflecting on the last 4 years, I'm 1000% sure I would not have been able to succeed as much as I have today at any other school. Going to my local school and being a part of the community makes a difference. I've been given opportunities to grow in confidence and develop a number of skills that might not have happened if I'd gone to a much bigger school. School life is what we make of it. There'll be times it's boring or hard, and there'll be tough patches along the way. However, as soon as you overcome that brick wall that's blocking your path, it's an easy ride, and you get to meet people and have experiences that help you sculpt yourself into the character that you're going to be for the rest of your life. I'm so grateful to have had 4 years of that ride, and I'm really looking forward to 2022 and the challenges it will bring. My goal is to be a better person as both a leader and a learner. The best advice I can give to any new student is make the most out of every opportunity. Ignore your nerves, give things a go, and do everything with a positive attitude. I've realized now my days here are limited. 4 years passed in what seemed like 4 months. If you want to make the most out of your time here, then you can't allow time for any regrets. Be confident, give everything a go, and if the only regret you have is that you wish you did something better, then you've succeeded by giving it a shot. Finally, if you ever need help, don't be afraid to ask, as there is a school full of great people to lend a hand. I'm excited to begin my final year, and I hope your son and daughter is also excited to begin their first year. Thank you for taking the time to be here, and welcome to the Englewood High School family. Constantia, thank you.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Michaela Pierce, and I'm honoured to be the head girl of Englewood High School in 2022. At the close of 2017, my time at Englewood Primary had come to an end, and I was ready and excited to move on to my next adventure, which was coming here to Englewood High School. Coming from primary school, I was nervous. I was a quiet kid and just went with the flow. So when things were about to change, I was nervous, especially about what high school would be like, not really knowing how different it would be from primary school. But after walking through the gates, on my first day, I knew that I was going to absolutely love my next 5 years here. I thoroughly enjoyed that first day and have loved it ever since. My first day of high school is one that I will never forget. It's a daunting feeling arriving for the first time in uniform, and I'll admit that. I was very nervous, but the friendly faces everywhere around the school made it much easier, and after the first day, I was buzzing. Couldn't wait for day 2, to catch up with some of the new friends that I'd already made. What I love most about Inglewood High School is the small community energy. Being a smaller school than many others, it means students can form relationships with students not only their own age, but older and younger. The vertical form classes really help this. Having friends in older years allowed me to ask questions and have someone to look up to. There were always students I genuinely looked up to, and now that I'm in year 13, I hope I can be that someone people look up to. School whānau events are definitely a highlight for everyone, staff and students. Aside from the chance to proudly wear our whānau colours, they bring us all out of our comfort zone and provide an opportunity to show off their talent, whatever it may be. The tabloids are a long-standing tradition of the first Friday of school. They create a positive yet competitive vibe right from the beginning. With swimming, sports, athletics, performing arts following, there really is something for everyone. I can honestly say that it's the people that make Inglewood High School awesome. I have wonderful friends here and the teachers are incredible. The passion and dedication they have is amazing. It is obvious to me that they are committed in helping to achieve and succeed. The size of Inglewood High School means they really get to know us and how we as individuals learn. Every teacher I've had here at Inglewood High School has ensured that I do everything to not only succeed in my education, but who I am as a person. They go out of their way to make sure we as students achieve everything to the best of our ability. One piece of advice I want to give to anyone coming to Inglewood High School is sign up, take part, and take every opportunity you get, because your high school experience is what you make it. And if you're a mum or dad out there and you're also a bit nervous about sending your child to high school, don't worry, they'll be in safe hands. Thank you. I'd like to now ask Mr. Vaughan to come onto the stage. Thank you.
Thanks, Michaela. Well done, Ollie, as well. First official duties out of the way. Welcome, my name is Mr. Vaughan, or Ben Vaughan, and I'm one of 2 GPs here. My role is around pastoral care and administration, and Mr. Ellis is over there by the computer. Does computing stuff, but he's our curriculum DP as well. We are really lucky to have a fantastic team here, and I'm going to try and introduce you to a number of those people tonight, and then those questions will be available at the end as well. There we go. So a bit of an idea. We're going to run through things reasonably consistently. I don't mind you putting up your hand as we go along, because I don't want you to forget your question by the time we get to the end. And if you're watching online, you're welcome to put a question in the comment box, and we'll answer those as well. It is a bit unusual this year doing it this way, but it's nice to get the mask off too. Okay, so the first thing is your first port of contact, or your most familiar face for your child or your son or daughter will be their form teacher, and they'll probably have the same form teacher for their full 5 years if they stay that long here at school. And so form time takes place 4 times a week for about 15 minutes each time, so about an hour a week. And it's a really important time to connect, not just with their form teacher, but with those vertical students. So as Michaela said, knowing students above and below you in your school is really important, and they form some good friendships outside of the normal year level. Please make contact with your form teacher. Say if there's a breakdown of a friendship at school, you're concerned about something like their academic progress, or if you're even going away on a longer holiday than normal, and it's during school time, that's the person that you would make contact with first. Okay, we've got lots of form teachers. We've got an extra one in each whānau this year, and that's reduced our class size, which means that those form teachers have more contact with students. So every form class has every whānau has 7 form classes. They're there. Those 4-letter codes are the teacher codes. The B stands for blue or kikorangi. The M stands for ma or whites. Maroon or pokowai, and the W stands for whites, or ma. Anyway, you can carry on. So what is a whānau dean? A whānau dean has the overall pastoral care for your students, but they're also involved in the academic progress. They're the ones this week that have been making phone calls home, checking that they've got the right modules or choices for students that best fit them. They'll also obviously deal with any behavioural issues. They'll be the first port of call probably when a behavioural issue, if it does arise. I'd like to think we've got an amazing pastoral care team here. The caring nature of these three guys, but also our extended team, really makes people feel welcome, but also the way that they act with, or interact with your son and daughter is really respectful. They will hear out their issues, they will listen to them intently and find solutions looking forward to them. We have a new position this year that Mr. Kennedy's in. It's called a tākai dean, and if you translate that in Māori, it means wraparound. So the main role for Mr. Kennedy is he's going to be working with Year 9 students in that transition from primary to secondary school. We know and research shows that this is the biggest transition that they're about to do in their life, from a really stable place where they had one teacher last year, probably, to a place where they've got 6 teachers for the first half of the year, and then they throw those away and they get another whole 6 teachers. They're with a huge cohort, pretty much all of you, unless you're coming from, say, Highlands. There's not many. So Mr. Kennedy will work closely and help students to make that transition as smooth as possible. We know there's going to be some bumpy parts, but our pastoral care team will be there for you. Okay, we have a bit of a chain of command or a way if you have concerns. We'd like not to come straight to me as deputy principal going, hey, what's going on? Generally, we like to work from this order here. So if you have a concern about your son or daughter's progress in a specific module or subject, please make contact with that classroom teacher. And the best way to do that is via an email. The next port of contact would be the form teacher. Okay, same thing. Please put them an email, and they will make contact with you in the first week or 2 as well, just to introduce themselves. Again, like I said before, if you're on a longer holiday and you want to explain an absence, the form teacher is the person that follows up on their attendance. As I said before, if you have an issue around your son or daughter's academic progress or a behavioural issue, or some daughters come home and say, hey, this happened at school today, we want to make it feel like they want to come to school. We want to make them feel comfortable to be here. And if they go home and bottle it up and tell you, but you don't do anything about it, we can't solve that issue. So please make contact with us, and we will be proactive and we will do something about it. We want students to get away from that thought that they're going to be a narc by saying something that's happened in the playground during the day. We want them to know that they're actually just sticking up for themselves. Okay, so please pass that information on to the whānau dean. You can call or you can flick an email to them as soon as you want. Our guidance counsellor, Ms. Richards, who's seated back here, is another person that has frequent contact with students, especially when they're in that emotional, mental, having concerns at school. You are welcome to also make contact with Ms. Richards. Usually a student will come and flip Ms. Richards an email, knock on her door, and leave a message, say, hey, can I have an appointment to have a chat with you? But you can also do that. And finally, if it's a really serious thing, I'm talking about, self-harm, something like that, or them harming themselves or others, I will be the person you would make contact with. Some things will get passed up the chain. The form teacher might go, oh, this is too big for me to deal with, and they'll pass them to the whānau dean. But we won't just sweep anything under the carpet at all. Of course, Mr. Leslie Ellis is over here as well, so if it's not a behavioural thing that I would deal with, if it's a big academic concern or something like that, please make contact with Mr. Leslie Ellis as well. All right. How will we get in touch with you? I'd like to think that we're really accurate, timely, and frequent with our communication. That's something we really pride ourselves on. So we've got a few methods, and often we will do a multiple to try and get the message out there as best as possible. So you could expect a phone call from us. Often we will send out emails, and we've been doing a lot of that recently, especially around the change in the COVID protection framework. So an email, please read them, don't just flick them in your spam. And if you're not getting emails from us, often they are in the spam folder as well, so check that and make us a safe sender. Facebook, we'll use Facebook to get messages out quickly to parents. If we're ever in a situation like an emergency situation, Facebook will be what we use, okay? And we ask that parents don't, if you see it here, we ask you don't come to the gate and try and grab your son or daughter, sorry, okay? Because that just makes the situation a whole lot more complicated. We'll let you know when it's safe for you to come to school and pick your son or daughter up. But in the past, and I know the school down the road a couple of years ago had an issue where they put that out there and a whole bunch of parents came to school to try and grab their son or daughter, and it made the situation a whole lot worse. Finally, we use Kmart, which is a student database, but we also do our reports on there. And you'll be able to check on Kmart, you'll be able to check your son or daughter's attendance. So if they say they've been at school, but they might have a question mark or a T for truant there, you can check that. But also the main thing that you can go on there to see is your son or daughter's progress. So we do live reporting. We don't just put their comments in at the end of the term or the end of halfway through the year. As soon as a test is done, often our teachers will put the result up straight away and they'll put a comment there as well, so you can check on it straight away. And finally, our newsletters come out once a month or so. So newsletters come out once a month and they come out via email as well. All right. So how to contact us? This email format is the same for everyone. So it's first name dot last name at inglewoodhs.school.nz. And that's just a key people. So Mr. Robles, Kikorangi Dean, Mr. Dickey is Kokowai Dean, and Alana George is Martin. Okay. Student absence. You can ring as soon as you know that your son or daughter is not going to be at school. Our phone will pick it up. It's an answer phone, so if you call in the middle of the night because you know they're not going to be the next day because they're vomiting, we'll pick that message up the next morning, or you can flick us an email. So either way, expect a call from us though at about 10:10, 10:30 if we haven't heard anything from you about where your son or daughter is. We like to be pretty prompt on that. So yeah, the more proactive you are in letting us know, that the less work for our receptionists and Sawka as well. If you are going to be away for a long period of time, especially if you're having a family holiday during school time, you need to make a written permission for that, and you need to send that to Ms. Maven as our principal, please. Inevitable appointments, so dentist, doctor's appointments often happen during school time. We ask that you send a note with your son or daughter to school, and they come straight to the office in the morning. They will need to show that to our receptionist, who will give them a little card, and when it's time for them to leave, they come to the office, and then you can come and collect them there, please. All right. Contacting the child at school, how and when. If you want to make contact with them because it's a family emergency or something like that, please ring the school office. Yes, we do it our cell phones here at school, but during class time, they are either in their bags and turned off, or at the front of the class in a box. And we don't want students having them in their pocket and potentially getting called, but disrupting their learning as well. Okay. And that leads well into my next slide, which talks about cell phones and social media. Surprise, surprise. Cell phones and the poor use of social media is probably the biggest thing that comes across my desk. 13 is the age that you can get on Facebook and other social media apps, and it's often your son or daughter doesn't know how to use them properly. So I know Mr. Redpath, as an ex-parent, is going to talk a bit about social media and making sure you don't turn a blind eye to what they get up to on there. But we ask that cell phones are turned off in their bags. They're welcome to use them at break times. Our Wi-Fi blocks the use of social media at any time of the day, and even us as teachers can't get on there. We also have a container at the front of the classroom that students are welcome to put their phones in as well, but most of them will just leave them in their bags. Yeah. Please keep an eye on what your son or daughter gets up to on social media. Make sure you have that sort of relationship where they are open to showing you what they're up to. And we will intervene as a school on social media things despite them happening in school, outside of school time. If it affects another person's well-being to the point where they don't want to come to school, they feel unsafe coming here, that is when the school will take it as an issue that we need to step into. Often, we'll kick it back to you and say, hey, your son and I'll read out what the message is or show you the picture that they've sent, and I'll pass it back to you as a parent to deal with. But we will step in when we need to. Okay. We're really lucky that as part of our pastoral care team to have a school nurse and a guidance counsellor, and I'm going to invite Miss Richards and Mrs. Wildwater to come up here and say a few words, please. Yeah. Right.
Thanks, Ben. I feel like everything that I was going to say has probably already been said. Talking about the nervousness. I'm Priscilla, by the way. Sorry. The nervousness, the anxiety that might be there for new students starting. I thought that Oliver and Michaela put that very well. They still can remember those days, and it's a really natural thing. It's a very normal thing. But there will be a percentage of your children, of our children, who that nervousness will go on for a bit longer than others for whatever reason. And that's where we step in, as a team. And as Ben said, we do have a really good, strong pastoral team within the school. And we do actually care. We want them to be happy. We want the students to settle, and we want them to feel comfortable at school, and we want you to feel comfortable about them at school. So please don't hesitate to give me a call or flip me an email. If you'd just like some advice, or if you'd like to perhaps, just talk through a problem that you're having with your son or daughter, and at any stage of the year. And there's often various things that come up along the way that you might just want someone to listen to you about. I'll be open to any of your questions a little bit later, because I'm not quite sure what kind of questions you might have right at this minute, but the most important thing is that we are here, and it is important. I've managed to raise 4 of my own and got them there, and I know that it's a minefield, and I know that it's not always easy, and I certainly was not perfect as a parent. So yeah, we are here with you, and we will walk along beside you and your students. Over the last 18 months, I've been lucky enough to have somebody in the next room to me 5 days a week, 4 hours a day, and it's Melissa, the school nurse, and we work together. I think we work together really well. We've both got similar aims and for our students, but Melissa can take on a medical, she can do a medical take to this as well. But often we might need to get our heads together about what we think is the right thing for students, and remembering too that remains confidential. Your children who come to us, whether it be via email to start off with or in person straight away, it will be confidential, anything that they say to us. But there is also that factor that, and they know this very quickly in the conversation, that if there's something that we think that their parents need to know about, we will contact you. Okay, so please feel safe with that. So I'll introduce you to Melissa now, and thank you for being here.
Good evening, I'm Melissa, and I think Priscilla's covered it all. I don't have any, well, everybody's covered it all really, and so it's just a familiar face to me. Reinforcing that it's a really holistic approach. I'm not purely, I came to the medical side, which is a big part of it. Diagnoses come up throughout the year, so don't ever hesitate to contact me. Form teachers might come to me, or teachers might come to me, because they're one of them is their first point of contact. And you might get a phone call, or you might just want to reach out to me yourself because something's changed in the whole situation, behaviour. But like Rosie said, just working in partnership with you all. It is a confidential service, but it is about working in partnership, because that's how we build good people, just doing it together. So I'll leave the questions to the end if there are any, please. isn't it?
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, homework. Expect some homework. We reduced the session. It was an hour last year. It's 30 minutes a night. And so there's a range of things there, but we were talking, Mr. Zias and I were talking the other day about it. If they don't have homework, we would love them to read a book. We're finding more and more our students' literacy levels are quite low. And just getting out there and reading a book or reading something online will help them. Okay, but there's also other things there. Education Perfect is a platform where they can do some of their modules or subjects online. So there's maths there, there's English, etc. And they could do some revision. Okay. Getting these sort of routines in place at year 9 and 10 sets them up really well for senior school as well. So if they don't say they've got anything, these are some options here for them. Okay. And you're welcome to touch base with the classroom teacher if you haven't, say, had any maths homework or yet. Touch base with, say, someone like Mr. Liziels. I know you sent homework to Mr. Liziels.
Every night.
Every night, there you go. And because there should be something there as well. Okay. On moral values, we have 3 values: manaakitanga, which is respect, order, confidence, and ako, and is excellence. And they underpin everything we do here at Englewood High School. Teachers will often refer to them, frequently refer to them, and we also acknowledge students when we see them displaying those values in outside the classroom. It's likely that your son or daughter has come from a primary school that has been a PV4L school, and they would have used their values to acknowledge their students as well, and we're the same. So every time it's seen by a teacher, as long as the teacher picks it up, they will verbally acknowledge your son or daughter, and then they will go online and fill in a little form. They will flip them an email saying, "Well done, you've shown manaakitanga for opening the door for me today coming in the classroom." It'll be something as simple as that. We have milestones, which are at 15, 40, 100, and we're making a new one because we've had so many amazing students over the last few years at 150 moral points, and they result in some sort of tangible reward. You can expect an email home from me, actually, if your son or daughter gets to any of those milestones as well. But please feel open to congratulating them as well, and or using those values in your own life as well. Uniform. I'm assuming most of you have got this already, but uniform is purchased from Martin's down here in Englewood. That's everything except for the school hat and the jacket. Jacket might be something you want to get into in term 2 when the weather changes, and a school hat is a new thing that we've brought in this year. So there is a bucket hat, a navy bucket hat with our school crest on it, or a navy cap. And they will, once they come in stock, which is on Monday next week, they will be the only hat that's allowed here at school. We ask that students have one plain stud or sleeper in each ear, no facial piercings, no extreme hairstyles, and when you buy shoes, if you haven't bought shoes already, they need to take a polish. They don't have to be leather, they just have to be able to take a polish. Okay. Real short and sharp. Okay, learning in a digital environment. We are a bring your own device school, but we also recognise people's situations are different, and so we have a really good supply of devices here. If your son or daughter breaks it, doesn't have one, has no charge, we've got a number of, we've got lots of them in school, but we wouldn't recommend you going out and buying a whiz-bang laptop. Okay, all you need is a Chromebook, which are a whole bunch cheaper, but they have many advantages over a laptop in many ways. So they hold their charge better, they last at least 8 hours, which means they'll get them through the school day because they will use their devices in those subjects. Also, if they do break them, they're not as expensive to replace. And if they are going to do some more complicated things like coding or some other stuff in technology, we have desktop computers that can do everything there. If you've got any sort of questions about whether you're purchasing the right or wrong device, please make contact with Mr. Leslie Ellis or Mr. White, who's a digital technology teacher. Okay. Progress. Expect an interim report week 7. Now, this won't have any writing in it. There's a bunch of tick boxes which will say they're meeting certain levels of the curriculum, but it gives you an indication about how your son or daughter is settling into school. The week following, we have a report evening here, and we try and get all parents of new students to come on to it, not just in year 9, but at the other year levels. And it's a chance for you to obviously come and meet some of your teachers, talk about next steps if they're struggling, but also to hear how they're going. You can meet your dean as well. and we will send out some more information about how to make those bookings with those teachers closer to the time. Right. Your son or daughter will do some goal setting throughout the year, and we do that in form class. We ask them to set 2 goals. One's around their academic progress. It might be passing a maths algebra assessment or something like that, and the other one could be around something else that they do in their life. We'd like to think that they've got things going on outside of school, or some sporting or music or cultural things that they could make a goal towards. We use an app or a website called My Mahi, and you as parents can also jump on there and have a look at how they're going towards their goal. And form teachers will check in with them regularly, so how you going, that sort of motivation, cheerleader sort of thing going on there. All right. Extracurricular activities. I know Mr. Redpath is going to talk about that, but I'm a PE teacher and big into sport. I would really encourage your son or daughter to get into some form of activity outside of the classroom for our school. Okay, it doesn't have to be a sport event or a recreation thing. It could be music, it could be writing. We've got some performing arts things going on. We've actually got performing arts new module this year as well, so that will lead to different things. Teen Ag is something really exciting as well. So we really recommend that your son or daughter does something, at least one thing in a year. We're seeing a drop-off in the number of students taking part in those sort of activities, and it's a shame. I know COVID's had a big part to play in that, but we think it's really important for your son or daughter to be well-rounded and not just focusing on the academic thing and then going home and jumping on a device and gaming. Okay. Because that's a lot. When we have conversations about students about what they do outside of school, it's like jump on the games or I jump on YouTube and watch clips all afternoon or evening. Okay. TSSA. TSSA stands for Taranaki Secondary School Sports Association, and they run a lot of one-off things for the day, and that would be something I'd really encourage you as a parent to push your son or daughter towards, because they are not the season-long things. That's a one-off, that's a taster. Things like frisbee golf up at Inglewood Golf Club. They do mountain biking, they get them doing some sailing down at Namotu Beach there as well. So those things are a good taster to get them sort of clicked and starting in an activity. And so often we find is when your son or daughter does it once, they either get in a really good peer group there with that activity, and it just sort of starts the ball rolling. All right, the last thing before I pass over to the Redpath is our interview activities. Now we do these in year 9 and 10, and they are often the culmination of a fantastic year, and I had the privilege of joining in and seeing a lot of them in action at the end of last year. They're happening this year in the last year of school, and they range from $20 up to $1,000, because that one goes down to Abel Tasman and they charter a plane. But the average trip is around the $350 mark, and that's an opportunity for your son and daughter to get out there and do things that they've never done before. We've got trips, like I said, going to Abel Tasman, Rotorua, Taupo, Coromandel. Last year we had some amazing art projects going on here at school, and the food option, which is around MasterChef, is always a highlight, and I spend a lot of my time in the taste testing things as well. Students learn about these options in term 2, and they can start paying off them as soon as possible. We'd encourage you, because we know the end of the year is a really costly time of the year, to maybe do something like an automatic payment and put in a few dollars each week, and then it doesn't become a big burden at the end of the year. All right, Mr. Redpath. It's all over to you. Mr. Redpath is an ex-parent a long time ago.
Still a parent, but just next parent of teenagers.
Yes, that one.
Oh, you couldn't say that too. As I was waiting outside there before, Michaela reminded me that this is the 5th year that I've given this chat, because her mum reminded her about the first year we did this.
Oh, it's still going.
Oh. Technology.
You press the button.
Okay, so we a few years ago it was felt that there was a bit of a gap, because everyone talks about the students and preparing them and all that sort of stuff. It's a bit like when someone's a baby. Everyone's all about the baby. What about mum? And more importantly, what about dad? No one thinks about dad when someone's a baby. So we introduced this little session, or this little part, because especially for those who have got their eldest coming to high school for the first time, there's often some concerns, anxieties, some questions. And I guess this is a way of just sharing some reflections, sharing some perspectives of my own. They're not school policy. I haven't got the time tonight. They're not Miss Maven's ideas or Mr. Hall's or Mr. Lucianis or anyone else's. They are certainly some which I have collected or come to over the years of being a parent. And as was said before, I've got 4 children. The youngest is no longer a teenager, so I'm no longer a teenage parent, or parent of teenagers. But some of the things that we have, I guess, picked up or come to over the years may be of relevance. Some of them I'm going to maybe throw at you. It might be challenging, but then again, being a parent and a caregiver is challenging. And it's no good hiding from things. We need to sort of front foot them, face them, and then work out the best way to navigate them. So, see if I can get the right button. Oh, look at that. Works. Yeah. As Ms. Maven said earlier, you're their parent or caregiver, you're not their friend. The big difference, you're the one who gets to say no. And already in life, you've probably said no on regular occasions. And sometimes with a teenager, that becomes a little bit monotonous and at times a little bit more tricky or confrontational, but there's still lots of opportunities when you, as a parent or caregiver, simply say no. And I guess within that, you're also setting realistic boundaries. You are doing things like working out where we're going. Example, child, I've got to be careful not to try and identify particular ones, otherwise people watching or listening might think, oh yeah, I think I know who it is. So a child comes to us. Jimmy's got a party tonight. Everyone's going. No, they're not. What do you mean? Well, you're not. What do you mean I'm not? Well, whatever reason. Who's Jimmy? Oh, yeah, he's this good mate of mine. Never met him. Oh, where's the party? Yeah, no, it's up to the top of Dudley. Oh, yeah, right. So there's a few things to unpack there before I, as a parent, am happy for my 14-year-old to rock away to somewhere whom I've never met, people I've never met, place I've never been, and all those sort of things. That is part of being a teenage parent sometimes, actually putting those little checks and balances in place. Another occasion, the mother of one of the kids' friends rings up. There's this thing on this weekend. Is your child going? No, we don't know anything about them or about the venue or whatever. So no, he's not going. Oh, thank God for that. I've been battling a child for the last 3 hours saying everyone is going. No. So key message there, sometimes being a parent means saying no, and it means actually doing a little bit of digging. Why? Because if it all goes pear-shaped, we're the one as parents who has to pick up the pieces. And that's sadly a consequence sometimes of not doing what you might call due diligence. Remain involved, but you've actually got to work at it. The teenage son comes home. How's school today? Oh, do anything interesting? Typical teenage boy response. Teenage girl comes home. Hi, how's school today? Oh, you are being so dramatic! What's the matter with you? Teenage girl response. So you've got to just take that and, okay, so how was it today? And eventually you will get some form of response and answer. Because actually showing absolutely no interest is actually inviting no information coming forward from son or from daughter in terms of what's going on. And as a parent, personally, I want to know what's happening. I'm interested. I've invested a lot of time and effort into this individual, and I'm continuing to do so. And sometimes we have to continue to be proactive about actually doing a bit of digging, how things are, because that's also a way of making sure that we as the parent can sort of get a bit of a handle when things are maybe getting a bit wobbly or a bit bumpy. Mr. Horn's already mentioned about getting involved. And in this digital age, and I was lucky enough that all my kids went through before, dare I say it, the phone became the dominant force that it is in this current day and age. But I think most people will acknowledge or recognise that having some sort of physical activity, mental activity, involvement in things outside home, outside school, can be a range of things. Doesn't have to be playing netball, doesn't have to be playing rugby. There's a whole range of opportunities there, but sometimes you've got to do a little bit of cajoling. Sometimes there might be a little bit of organisation in the household, but actually those things pay dividends big time. Okay, they are really, really important in terms of trying to navigate this young person through this minefield of teenagehood and not getting into too many ruts and getting too narrow or confined to their bedroom, their device, or whatever. And a couple of years ago, we did this little bit of a survey, and it was quite frightening. So out of a cohort of, at that stage, about 80, more than half of the students had either limited or no activity or interest outside school. And I mean none. Okay, so it wasn't just, as I said, not playing in the sports team, but there was no outside stimulation. And that's concerning. Okay, it was interesting. I was talking to Neil Barnes last night at Fitzroy Beach because there is a Surfing for Farmers program running at the moment. And he was echoing exactly the same thing. Neil Barnes, coach of Taranaki at the moment, Taranaki Rugby, he was echoing exactly that same sentiment. That in recent times we have seen this increasingly large number of teenagers with no outside stimulation involvement, that sort of thing. Mr. Horn loves this slide. Not everyone's going, not everyone's got one, not everyone's doing it. Set and reinforce realistic time boundaries. Okay, as a parent, that makes our life so much easier. Okay, you're going around to Jenny's place, I'll pick you up at 11. I'll pick you up at 11. Not 11. And 11 o'clock, if you're not there, guess what? I'm going in, as I've done on occasions. In the process, I probably shut the party down, to be fair. But from that point on, there was never any arguments when what 11 o'clock or what a deadline meant. Okay? Really, really important, and it makes life so much easier. As I said before, check out events or destinations that you actually just, it's not that you've got an inbuilt negative or concerning attitude, but it just is nice to know. Another example, another little story, true story. So, child. We're going camping at the Stratford Domain this weekend. Cool activity, cool place. Who's going? Yeah, Okay, what parents going? Or yeah, who's going to be there in a sort of supervisory capacity? Okay, a couple of sets of parents. Excellent. Anything we can do or help? Yeah, no. No, anything we can do or help. So, long story short, we ring up one of the parents, much to the aghast of the child involved, and absolutely kosher event, really well event. Kids had a lot of fun, but the fact that they realised that we were going to and prepared to make that contact, because even the most delightful teenagers, and I've had 4 of them, can do the most undelightful little things in terms of organisations and little groups and events and that sort of thing. So once they know that you're going to just do a polite little check, life becomes much easier. And the other thing is, when it all turns to custody or if there's an issue, make sure they know we are there as the backup plan. Okay, so whatever has gone down at the time, the case is, the key thing is that as the parent, we are actually that backup that they can call on and that they can count on to go and get them or help navigate the situation. Yeah. Don't know where that stat came from, but I think it's about right. So we've got them for 16% of their time, you've got them for 84%. So what, as parents, we do, you do, has a massive influence. It makes a difference. It makes a positive difference. And to be quite honest, if done really poorly, it can make a negative difference. Okay, if you think the worst type scenario that a parent could operate as, the outcome from that situation or that scenario is got a high risk of having some less desirable outcomes. So as parents, we make a difference. As parents of teenagers, we make a difference. Even though you might not feel that at the time. That for the umpteenth dozen time, you've had a bit of a chit-chat or more about whatever. Phone, eating, going out, what you're wearing, what you're not wearing, whatever. Actually, the long game is the key one here. And so those short little, don't call them battles, but those short little events are worth putting your effort into. And sometimes that might be finding ways of having some involvement. My wife sat through every single Lord of the Rings movie. She hates Lord of the Rings. She went to every single one of them with all the kids because they were just so into them. She went to every Harry Potter movie. Not because she wanted to go and see Harry Potter, but because actually there was a really important opportunity to go as, in that case, a family and do something collectively. And often being a parent, it is finding those little opportunities because, trust me, as the kids get older, they become less and less common. Yeah, quality time is an investment. You get a return on it. This has been touched on. And as I said before, this has become a societal game changer. But as parents, we do have some control, some influence. Interesting trends that we've seen at school in the last 18 months, over the last couple of years with those lockdowns, is an increase in device, internet, social media dependency, for want of a better word. Now, if a phone goes off dum 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 in a room, the individual really will struggle to focus until they know what that dum 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 or beep or whatever means. Yeah. So, what can, as a parent, we do? For me, it came down to owning our house. Okay, my house, my rules, and whilst we can discuss and negotiate and that sort of thing, at the end of the day, there were some bottom lines. Example, at our house, all phones, mine, my wife's, everyone's, were up by the kitchen bench at 9 o'clock. Need an alarm clock? No. Here's an alarm clock, it goes tick-tock. That sort of thing. We, as another example, had a policy, you eat together. It might be in front of the TV, it might be at the kitchen table. No one eats in their bedroom. No one. Okay, and that's just part of that, finding opportunities or putting down environments where, as a family, parents, children, caregivers, children, you are together. You are eating, you then have the opportunity for conversation, that sort of thing. I was just come back last week from where I grew up on the East Coast, and I visited a cousin, and I've got three teenage boys. And interestingly, when Hayley was taking me through the house where actually my father was born, came into the office. In the office, 3 computers. She said, the only technology in this house is in this room. Okay, we have not got people with computers, phones and that in bedrooms. Okay, and that is just a way of not wanting to be, big brother and that sort of thing, but actually cutting any issues off at the pass. Because another little example, a parent came to me at a reports evening a couple of years ago, and this young lady, very, very, very high achieving young lady, was struggling. Tired, grumpy, all these sort of things. And I asked, spend much time on her phone? No. She said, no, she's in bed at 9 o'clock. No. Does she spend much time on her phone? Oh, no. No, she wouldn't do that. Where's your phone? Oh, with it. Okay. So the next day, said child came to me at school and said, thanks, Mr. Redpath, because said phone was no longer in bedroom because they'd been spending up until 3 o'clock in the morning messaging, Facebook, Instagram, you name it. And this was one of our higher performing students at the time. So any student, boy, girl, and my kids would have been shockers if given the opportunity, can find that distraction becoming more than a distraction, becoming a dependency and getting hooked into those behaviours. You're tired, you're grumpy, and it spirals from there. It is one of the trickier things as a parent to I guess, attack, but it is something which I would urge you to work through with your teenage son or daughter. Yeah, she ain't cheap, so that I haven't been able to find a more recent stat, but that is the cost of a student in New Zealand going through just normal state education from year 0 to year 13, roughly. And when I say our children are an investment, they literally are an investment, if you want to look at it from that perspective. Key thing with that is we then need to make sure we are planning for that as best as possible. It doesn't matter whether it's secondary school, uniform, trips at the end of the year, whatever. We know they're expensive. We've already had them for 12 or 13 years, and buying things and paying for their growth and development and school and that sort of thing. They don't get any cheaper, believe me. No. But be aware of it and try and front foot that. Okay, makes a bit of planning can go a long way. Cool. And lastly, it's not a slide. As I said before, you as the parent or caregiver have a massive influence, and our intent as a parent or caregiver should be to ensure that that influence is as productive and positive as we possibly can. Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Mr.
Of course I am. Okay, next week. We'll start on Wednesday, 8:45. By 8:45, everyone will come in here, and then we'll go up. Obviously, plans are pretty fluid at the moment, but they're sort of starting to form up about how next week is going to take place. This red is really throwing a spanner in the works. Masks are now required on buses. So if your son or daughter is catching a school bus to come here, they wanted to wear the mask the whole way, please. Whenever they are indoor and when they're in close contact situations. I'm really lucky as a PE teacher, I don't have to wear one because I'm going to take all my classes outside and I'm going to run around and stay out of the gym. But we know it's going to be a bit of an adjustment for your son or daughter getting used to wearing it for that long a time. They need to be a mask. It doesn't have to be a medical grade one for your son or daughter, but it does for us as teachers. But it can't be a bandana, and it can't be a scarf or a pulled up t-shirt or something like that. Okay. Our plan is to have some sort of call footy on Thursday, And again, unfortunately, this year we can't have any sort of parents there or anything like that. It's going to be a different sort of kettle of fish for a little while we're in that red setting. Some of their classes will start on Thursday and Friday, and then Friday afternoon, as Michaela said, we have tabloids on the first Friday, and which is just a fun opportunity for them to do some crazy things like throwing gumboots around and doing different things with water. Hopefully the sun comes out then, and we have a good time. It's the first, we do competitions throughout the year, and everything's worth points. And my house, Hawaii or Maroon won last year, I thought I'd just drop that in there. But there's, between the three houses, a bit of fierce rivalry and good fun too. And just a reminder there that Monday the 7th of February is the holiday, not the Tuesday, which is the actual writing. Okay, questions? Now's the time. And if you don't want to ask a question here, but the person that you want to ask a question to is here, you're welcome to approach them at the end. We'll just hang around for a little while if you want to ask an individual sort of question that you don't want to ask in front of everyone else. We will hang around and you can ask us questions as well. You got any questions online?
I've been answering them as they.
Oh, you have? Okay. Are there any questions that everyone here might want to hear, Mr. Luciel?
Oh, there was quite a good one, which I gave a very long answer for, which was about the cost of the trips at the end of the year and around vaccination and stuff like that. So obviously the response is not all trips have an average of $350. They can be cheaper. There are ones on site here, which are almost free, right through to the $1,000 one down Nelson Way. And then around the vaccination, that's sort of a great unknown for the end of the year, because we don't know what level we're going to be at that point in time and whether the law.
Oh, so that was vaccination.
Yeah, they were talking about vaccinations at the end of the year in terms of.
For the trips.
For this
yeah,
year.
that threw us down in the works at the end of last year. But of course, there will be options for people that are not vaccinated. But things are changing all the time. Who knows what it's going to be like at the end of the year? Whether we are required for vaccine passes for everything. So, yeah, those are good questions. Has anyone got anything else? Yes.
With the masks, would you prefer them to be like a plain one, or doesn't matter?
It does not matter.
Okay, so you can have colourful ones or whatever.
Yeah,
okay, so
absolutely. If they had, and I was going to bring it up, if the mask exempts, they've been to their GP and they've got that exemption, we ask that they wear a little badge or something like that, so they don't get repetitive questions from people and people going, why are they not wearing them? We will, as staff, work through those issues, but we expect a number of students to also have that mask exemption, and we have a number of staff members to have that exemption.
Yes, we have an idea about school buses.
Yes, I do. What would you like to know?
From Stratford.
Yes, there is no school bus from Stratford. It is they're required to get on a connector bus. Yeah. So you need to make contact with the regional council who run connector buses to find out what time you need to be on. I understand it's pretty early from Stratford, like 7:30ish.
And I think starting this year, you can use the B card, which is the same. They've sort of extended it now. I think that the same card they use in town will extend right through. So just use the one card, which I think you can charge up.
And I think it's a lot cheaper than it was last year. The B card is a big reduction for your son or daughter in terms of the cost of what it was last year. More? That's fine. We're going to have, sorry, go.
And with the sun hats,
Yes.
are they compulsory and are they allowed to wear a different hat until they get a school hat?
Not compulsory, so they can be out there. We ask that they wear something that will stay in shade or come grab some sunblock or something like that. Or bring some sunblock. And until they've got theirs, we'll probably have a week or two grace while until they get their hats. Yeah. No worries. Fantastic. Hey, thank you very much for coming, and thank you everyone online for watching. It's a bit of an unusual situation, but I hope you've got something out of it tonight, and we appreciate you coming along. Please don't just be this is the only time you come in this year. Please come to the report evenings. Please make contact with us if you have concerns or other issues that you want to talk about. But we're going to hang around for a few minutes if you want to come and find one of us and have a chat. Thanks.